Hello, and welcome back to the Resilient Walk. If you found your way here today, perhaps you're in one of those seasons where you've been pouring yourself into something, a dream, a relationship, a goal, and the ground beneath your efforts feels barren. Where you've been waiting, and the silence has grown so heavy that you've begun to wonder if anything you've planted will ever grow. Now, let's settle in together. Close your eyes if you can, or let your gaze soften. Let me take you to a place where the morning mist clings to ancient hills, where the earth smells of rain and possibility. In a valley where the morning light filtered through centuries-old oaks, there lived a gardener named Samuel. His hands were maps of devotion scarred from thorns, stained with soul, gentle from years of coaxing life from the earth. At the heart of his garden stood a tree. Not just any tree, but the tree. A fig tree his grandfather had planted when Samuel was just a boy. His grandfather had pressed a small shovel into Samuel's 5-year-old hands and said, "This tree will feed your children's children. But first, you must tend it with patience." Samuel had been tending this tree for 12 years now. 12 springs had come and gone. 12 times he had watched other trees in the valley burst into bloom, heavy with fruit. 12 times he had run his weathered fingers along his tree's smooth bark, whispering encouragements, promises, prayers. Every morning, Samuel would wake before dawn. He would prepare rich compost with coffee grounds and eggshells. He would carry buckets of well water, never the harsh water from the tap, but the sweet water from the old stone well. He would prune with the precision of a surgeon, removing dead wood, creating space for new growth. The neighbors had begun to whisper, "Samuel's tree," they would say, shaking their heads. 12 years, and nothing. "Some trees are just broken," but Samuel would pretend not to hear. He would continue his morning ritual, because what else was there to do? This tree was his inheritance, his grandfather's promise. His hope made manifest in wood and leaf. But hope, even the most stubborn hope, can grow tired. In the evening hours, when the garden was bathed in golden light, Samuel would sit beneath the tree's shade and feel the weight of all those empty seasons. His knees ached from kneeling in the dirt. His back protested the endless watering, the careful pruning, the hopeful waiting. Sometimes, in the quiet of those evenings, Samuel would place his palm against the tree's trunk and whisper, "What am I doing wrong? What more do you need?" The tree, of course, never answered. Then came the 13th spring. Samuel woke on a morning when the cherry trees were already heavy with pink blossoms, when the apple trees hummed with bees, when even the wild elderberry bushes were thick with white flowers. He walked to his tree, as he had every morning for 12 years. But this time, something inside him cracked. The tree stood there, beautiful in its way, healthy, strong, its leaves a vibrant green, but barren, always barren, like hope stretched too thin, like faith asked to carry too much for too long. Samuel felt something rise in his chest, not anger, grief, deep, bone-weary grief. He walked to his tool shed with heavy steps. Inside, hanging on its familiar hook, was his saw. The blade gleamed silver in the dim light. As he lifted the saw, his grandfather's words echoed, "This tree will feed your children's children." But Samuel had no children, and 12 years of faith had yielded nothing but fruitless branches. "I'm sorry, grandfather," he whispered. I really tried." He walked back toward the tree, the saw heavy in his hands. Each step felt like a small death. Samuel placed the saw against the base of the trunk. One cut, just one, and 12 years of waiting would be over. He could plant something else, something that would actually grow, something that would give back. He drew the saw back, ready to make the first cut. "Mr. Samuel." Samuel turned. There, at the garden gate, stood Maya, the little girl from next door. 7 years old, with wild curls and eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of someone much older. She held a small handful of wildflowers, dandelions, and clover, the kind of bouquet only a child would think to gather. "What are you doing?" she asked, tilting her head. Samuel looked down at the saw. The tree isn't growing fruit, Maya. After 12 years, I think it's time to cut it down," she asked softly. Samuel nodded. Maya walked closer, her bare feet quiet on the earth. She reached out and placed one small hand on the tree's trunk. "My mama planted some flowers last year," she said. "They didn't grow at all for the longest time. Just little green shoots. I thought they were broken. But Mama said they were busy growing roots, deep, deep roots. She said the part we can't see is sometimes the most important part." She looked up at Samuel. "Maybe your tree is growing roots too, really deep ones. Maybe it's just taking its time to make sure it can hold all the fruit it wants to give you." Samuel knelt beside her. "But 12 years, little one, that's a very long time to wait." Maya nodded. "Mama says good things sometimes take a really long time. Like how butterfly has to stay in its cocoon before it can fly. It's not broken, it's just getting ready." She twirled a dandelion between her fingers. "Could you wait one more season? Just one more? Sometimes things grow in the quiet when we're not looking." Samuel looked at this small girl, her weeds offered like treasure, her face full of faith in things unseen. Something shifted in his chest, not breaking, but opening. He set the saw down in the grass. "One more season," he whispered. Maya smiled and placed her wildflowers at the base of the tree. "I'll wait with you." Samuel didn't know what changed that day. Maybe it was Maya's faith. Or maybe it was releasing the desperate grip he'd held on hope for so long. He still came each morning, but now his hands moved differently. Less grasping, more trusting. He would water, prune, mulch. Then he would simply sit beneath the tree and be present. Not waiting, not hoping, just being. Winter came and went like a long, quiet exhale. Then, on a morning in early spring, Samuel walked to his tree and stopped. There, on branches bare for over a decade, tiny green buds were pushing through the bark. Dozens, hundreds. The tree was covered in the soft promise of new life. Samuel reached out to touch one. It was real, warm with life. Weeks passed. The buds became leaves. The leaves became flowers. The flowers, slowly, became fruit. Not just a few figs, but an abundance that bent the branches with their weight. Deep purple figs, sweet as honey, basket after basket. Maya came to visit on the day of the first harvest. She looked up at the tree, heavy with fruit, and smiled. "See," she said. It was just growing roots. Samuel handed her the first fig, some warmed and perfect. As she bit into it, he understood what he hadn't before. The tree hadn't been broken, it hadn't been failing. All those years of barrenness, it had been doing the most important work of all, growing deep. Creating a foundation strong enough to support abundance. My friend, if you're in a season that feels barren, if you've been tending something precious with no fruit to show for it, if you're holding that saw, ready to cut down the very thing you've nurtured, consider this. What if the silence isn't emptiness, but fullness preparing to emerge? What if the waiting isn't wasted time, but necessary time? The tree didn't bloom despite the waiting, it bloomed because of the waiting. because of all those quiet seasons spent growing stronger. Your season of fruit is coming. The roots you're growing in the darkness will hold treasures you can't yet imagine. Trust the quiet. Trust the process. Give yourself one more season, and then another, if you need it. The harvest is worth the wait. Be gentle with yourself. You are growing, even when you can't see it. Until next time, be well.